Hello and welcome. As the tech tsunami continues to sweep businesses across industries, Microsoft Future Ready puts the spotlight now on banking and more specifically on how digital innovations are driving customer experience and efficiency, while also ensuring that customer trust is backed by a secure technology architecture. So this is Microsoft Future Ready, and we have with us Anubhuti Sanghai, who's the head of operations and customer service for ICICI Bank. We also have with us Deepak Sharma, President and Chief Digital Officer for Kotak Mahindra Bank Limited. So thank you both so much for joining us. And you're two of the people who are really driving the entire technological wave that is continuing to change banking. Anubhuti, why don't I start with you? You are the custodian, of course, of customer experience there at one of the largest banks in the country. How is that working? How is data redefining the relationship between you and your customers, and how is it changing the quality of interaction?
Thanks, Vikram. I think it's a very pertinent question that you're asking, especially in this, in this digital age where customers, in my view, have two clear expectations from any organization. One is that you should know me, and the second is that show me that you know me through personalized journeys, communications which are targeted towards my needs, offerings which are specifically meant for me. And we do have large data footprints of customers today, and this coupled with the new technologies and capabilities which we have today, actually there is no limit to what one can do to enhance the entire customer experience and to deliver on these expectations of personalized journeys, communications, and offerings. There's a lot of backing of transaction data, behavioral patterns that we see, and of course a lot of external data sets are also available today. So even from a business perspective, I would say that increasingly the profit pools of any organization are dependent on data flows and how well one is able to mine that data and build more engaging conversations and more intuitive journeys for the customer. And that is exactly what we are doing to enhance the quality of our customer interactions. So constant, I would say, deep mining of data, use of artificial intelligence, machine learning, data science is enabling us to deliver on real-time personalized offerings with the insights which we get across the different channels where customers interact with us, and in the process really enhance prospecting for new customers, onboarding of new customers, their experience while dealing with us. For example, very sharply targeted, I would say, we are able to make pre-approved loan offers to customers or card offers to customers. So that's only possible, I would say, because of data which is now available to us and the kind of work we are able to do. So I would really say that today the power of data and technology is truly infinite. If you can imagine, you can execute it. So basically in my mind the constraint is really only imagination, and customer interaction will only get better.
Fine. The only limit is to the imagination, and from the customer's point of view, show me that you know me. That's interesting. Deepak, if I could turn to you. Okay, you have to try and understand the customer better through various forms of data and data management and AI and profiling and analysis. What else can you do to really get the actionable intelligence that is required to build better products and perhaps make them more personalized?
Yeah, I think continuing from where Anubhuti was mentioning, I think just getting data in my mind is not enough. A lot of us, we always were too worried about what kind of data do we have in terms of volume, velocity, what is the kind of veracity of data. We all have a lot of historical data, but the question is the data relevant data today? Because we all know our attributes, our habits, our preferences, our location, our motivation. It changes over a period and it keeps changing. It's not that my behavior 12 months back when I was in the midst of or peak of pandemic would be same as what it is today. And second is to build models which are real time or near real time in our ability to test those things out. For example, Vikram, if you happen to be, say, in BKC on a Friday evening, and I just know a couple of your card transactions, which shows that normally on a Friday evening when you are in Mumbai, you happen to meet friends. I can throw some offers to you, but I'm not too sure how busy are you this Friday or what is your priority for this Friday, right? So I have to start with bringing certain things out, get a lot of these negated either by customer preference or choice, or what customer would like or not like, but continuously keep building and fine tuning on those engines over a period of time. And
Yeah.
I think that's where the whole machine learning algorithm is coming in, predicting it through the AI models come in, as to figure out what is it that you would like to do. What are your motivations? None of us know what you did yesterday is what you're going to do next weekend.
And just to add to that, I'm sure, Deepak, there would be some customers who say, hang on, I don't want you knowing too much about me. Yeah, I'm swiping my card. Yes, I'm using this and I'm blowing up more money than I perhaps I should. I don't necessarily want my bank to be either knowing about it or to be telling me about it. So there are some customers who will have that concern. And I'm sure regulators and regulation will sometimes also have concern about, do you know too much about me?
I think financial institutions are still more concerned about the data privacy. I would say to that extent. I think one would definitely trust their bank not to misuse or overdo with the data yet. But for example, most of us continue to get banking in English. But we know today a language of choice is default given when you build any digital interface or experience. How about knowing what you love talking in, and or whether you like voice or you like a text? So if some of those interfaces can be personalized, I'm sure as a customer we see a lot of value.
All right. Uh, Anubhuti, just wanted to ask you on this entire thing about, sometimes it's not completely clear from some customers' point of view. Yes, there is AI. Yes, there's data. Yes, there's machine learning. Yes, that knows me really well. But something, I really like that human interaction. I don't like all these AI bots. I want my personal relationship manager. I want a human being to talk to, and not anything else. Is that something that you're very conscious of? And is that the feedback that you're getting a lot of?
Actually, it's a statement which we very often hear, that there is a kind of a conflict between interacting with a personal RM versus dealing, say, with an AI bot. We have leapfrogged in terms of adoption of mobile apps, digital platforms. I mean, clearly we see it in our across the country, whether it's rural India, a local vegetable vendor, everybody is using digital payments. So in terms of, I think, digital literacy, that is not a constraint. However, what I want to say here is that, more than a conflict here, actually, we see it more as a progression in our engagement with our customers. What I mean when I say that is that, when it comes to performing any task which is easy, convenient, or maybe simple, straight through, customers do not really need assistance, and they would prefer to do it themselves. As Deepak was also talking of the various mechanisms you use, whether it's a business rule engine, an OCR, you use all that to build these do-it-yourself journeys to deliver instant self-service experience, to the customers. But if it comes to tasks which are a little more complex in nature, or where the customer anxiety level could be higher, then customers definitely want us to do it for them, or to do it with them. And here, it is an imperative that the bank should offer those assisted services or fully supported services where where customers can complete their journey with us. So clearly, I think there is no sort of a conflict, or so I think clearly, I wouldn't say that it's this or that. It would be a combination of the two, and we have to keep seeing how do we improvise on the customer journeys overall.
Right. Deepak, let's now, as Chief Digital Officer, of course, as you start working towards building the various solutions and your own software solutions, to what extent do you do that on your own? To what extent are you doing that on the cloud? To what extent are you implementing solutions? Like I know you were implementing SaaS IFRS on Azure. How do you do this entire journey?
Yeah, I think when we look at a solution, we look at it in 4 different stages. Infra part, which is what typically is where the cloud is increasingly becoming the way to go. It has its own merits, I think, be it in terms of compute or storage or flexibility of scaling up, scaling down, or finding the new tools and solutions which are built on cloud. So I think cloud for us, which is the core infra layer, has started to see that shift happen. And today, a lot of our new applications started to move on cloud or are born on cloud. The layer over infra is what we typically call our core applications like our core banking, loan origination, credit and risk analytics. I think a lot of those applications again are getting modernized over a period of time. And as we look at modernizing, the question comes to us as to should we take it on cloud or should we continue to run on-prem? And that's how the choice of new application and infra gets connected together. While the front end is where we see a lot of value to the customer, that's be it your digital channels, your payments. When you look at an app, you connect with us on a branch banking or through a contact center. And that's where we require a lot of capability blocks. And that's where our ability to keep experimenting, keep learning and changing becomes important, and thereby insourcing of the front end capability, but working with partners like Microsoft and others to modernize our application and look at a cloud-ready infrastructure.
Anubhuti, what would be your take on that? That managing the clients and the front end, try and build proprietary stuff yourself and do a lot of the rest of it with partners? Or how would you approach the same question?
So, I think, there are two aspects of it. I would say that, we of late have realized that it's always good to go with partners who are of repute, who have the scale and the bandwidth to handle a bank of our size as well. So clearly on that front, we have been working very actively with some of the very large partners, across the globe. And of course, there will continuously be needs of these, smaller utilities which you feel that you can build in-house, or you could work with some, some of the startups and the fintechs which are bringing in those expertise. But in the long run, finally, you have to follow a kind of a platform approach where all this integrates into. That's the way we look at things.
Right. One of the things that I want to now turn to is the question of, we were touching upon privacy a little bit and about risk, including the integrity of data management, the necessity to have security at all levels. This is important anywhere, but Anubhuti, I guess for a bank, it is absolutely critical, right? That security has to be maintained, the integrity of passwords and data management has to be integrated. All data touch points must be secured all across the chain. I'm sure that's one of the highest priorities for you.
For any bank, and given the continuously evolving the landscape of digitization, the open architecture that we getting into, I think data management, data protection, is uber critical for us. I think there's no denying that, and especially given the sensitive nature of customer data, the financial data that we handle, I think there's no two ways about it. And actually for us as well, the data protection and cybersecurity is a key tenet, like any other bank, and at the heart actually of every technology development that we drive. So there are very, very stringent governance and audit frameworks around them. Cybersecurity platform that we operate on is built on that classic, I would say, protect, detect, and respond framework. Clearly the idea is that we continuously move into a direction where maybe moving away from rule-based kind of monitoring to a patterns and behavior-based monitoring and detection of threats on an ongoing basis, using again the algos of AI and ML. But at the same time, I would say that we spend a lot of effort on customer and employee education, because with the evolving technologies, the threats are also increasing, because the other side also gets as much smarter with the new technologies, and they should, therefore our customers, our employees should be well aware of the newer threats and and the consequent do's and don'ts that they need to follow.
Right. Deepak, you want to add anything to that? How do you deal with risks, both financial risks and non-financial risks?
I think the risk is real, and that's precisely the reason you have regulated entities like banks around here, because we first look at risk and then try to manage or balance the convenience with risk. So risk is eventually in the DNA of every single financial institution. But I think be it a credit risk or cybersecurity risk or operational risk or reputational or marketing risk, I think each of those are not now today the functions which are sitting in the risk departments of organization. I think every single product and a business person is trained now to identify risk that may emanate out of a decision that we run. For example, a lot of us started to realize that the current geopolitical crisis, what kind of financial risk it may present for a card that is getting used on an ATM or a debit card swipe that is happening world over, or probably exporters who have taken a credit guarantee. And I think all of a sudden you start realizing that you're just not managing, being an Indian bank, risk emanating out of cyber or Indian ecosystem, but you are exposed to a much larger global ecosystem, be it for a cybersecurity or fraud or for credit or any of the issues that we are facing. The second thing that is changing apart from this is banks are increasingly becoming more and more connected to the larger ecosystem. It can be an e-commerce merchant which you use for shopping but have a bank account linked, or a checkout experience, or probably someone who's doing a transaction processing on behalf of a financial institution. If they are vulnerable for any reason or they got compromised, it also exposes the financial institutions. So I think we are increasingly looking beyond our own four walls to say, how do we protect the larger ecosystem from some of the mishaps? And I think that's where it's a continuous journey, I would say, Vikram, to keep assessing and keep responding to the threats.
All right. Well, talking about protecting the ecosystem, sort of last question for me. One of the major focuses for us at Future Ready has been to also look at sustainability. How do you manage sustainability? And I have heard many people talking about not trying to have too many servers in one place, move to larger data centers. I know Microsoft just put something up in Telangana. What is your approach to this? How do you, as you're rolling forward, what are the steps that can be taken for sustainability? Is it about how do you manage some of the requirements that are there for large institutions like yours, and still try and do that in a sustainable manner? Deepak, you want to take that first, and then I'll throw that to Anubhuti.
Sure. I think banks today, as you said, Vikram, rightly, I think sustainability and high availability of the core banking infrastructure, both are critical, because banks today just cannot go down. Yeah. I think that's a big one. Second, if the volume spikes up, and we are seeing it, be it UPI or transaction or probably surges, you should have ability to manage those unexpected increase in volume for a short burst of time. So to do all of that, we are realizing that just a disaster recovery, or DR, what we call in banking parlay, which is another seismic zone than where you typically have your core banking infra, is just not good enough, because your time to switch on or move to a DR still takes you a few hours. And that's again not acceptable. So I think we started to realize that we need something which is what we call as a near DR. That means it's in a few miles away for us to switch over. And also when we look at cloud, because of the high availability of the critical IT infrastructure, it's far more easier and comfortable if you have an HA which gives us almost near 100% uptime. And I think some of these benefits we have started to see to build the sustainable and scalable IT infrastructure.
All right, Anubhuti, sustainability.
Yeah. I think more specifically on sustainable development, I would say that every organization really has a role to play in this shared global agenda, and we are more than willing to play our part. And if you really see, you mentioned about the Microsoft data center in Telangana. So I think it's very, very critical that we ensure we optimize. And we know that there are so many data centers which people are now putting up in Iceland and other places where you naturally don't need as much of cooling. You naturally have the cooling and you don't need an external artificial cooling. So I think that definitely is there. But given that we are in India, and the fact that we have the weather and the temperatures that we have, so our data centers also operate on renewable energy like solar power, and we are platinum rated by IGBC, which is the Indian Green Building Council. So clearly, that's something which we work on. We also source, actually green servers that are more energy efficient, and they operate at somewhat higher temperatures as well. And of course, we also focus on a lot of other things like using digital solutions to cut down use of paper, whether it's in a customer journey or back office processing, etc. So clearly, and we do adopt new technologies and energy efficient, I would say, practices in our operations to reduce our operational emissions.
All right. Well, that as I said last question, I'm going to have one final question, I think, for both of you. Let's look into the crystal ball. What's banking going to be like here in India, let's say 4 years or 5 years from now? How do you see it? Mobile led, almost certainly. Mobile phone playing a very important part in it. What else are we going to see? So, quick last couple of words from you, Deepak, and then I'll throw that same thing to Anubhuti.
I think banks are becoming more of a consumer tech firms in financial space. So you will increasingly start seeing a lot of technology and platformification of banks. Banks will also increasingly start to become more of embedded finance. So it's not only a place that you go to, but you will experience it where you are due to APIs and ecosystem play. So I would say these are the two things that I'm seeing it happen to the banks.
All right, Anubhuti.
And I just want to say that, many of us who have Gen Z kids, we know what a digital native person is, and that, those digital natives are the ones who are going to be our consumers for future. Today, when I talk to my teenage daughter, I realize that she's never experienced a non-digital world. She's never been in a world where there were no tablets or, smartphones. But on the other side, I also see my mother, who's in her 70s, and she lives in a very, very small town in Jharkhand. And she too is a digital literate. And, she's ordering things online in that small place. And, she may not be as efficient as my daughter, but she's doing it. So clearly, I see that as we go along, it's not just the Gen Z kids who are going to, put pressure of that instant fulfillment of their requirements. They will want it fast, frictionless, first time right. It's also the all of us and the the senior citizens, all of them are going to get more and more digitally savvy, and they'll want it all integrated in their normal journeys. They may not want to see a bank. They may only want to see what they want to do, and bank naturally gets integrated into what they are doing on other apps probably. So I think that's the way I would see 4 years from now where we would be.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree with you more. The entire point of distribution, the entire point of being embedded into other things that people are doing rather than saying you want to come to the bank. Yes. That's probably exactly the way it is going to pan out. So great to hear that both of you feel the same way. Deepak and Anubhuti, thank you so much for joining us at Microsoft Future Ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikram. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vikram.